There's a book called The Righteous Mind, Why Good People Disagree on Politics and Religion, written by Jonathan Haidt. Great book. I picked it up. I'd like to know the answer to that. Well, it turns out he delves into how the mind evolved. And he equates the ancient mind, the evolution of intuition, as a form of thought. He equates that to the elephant. So 500 million years of evolution, the elephant. The latest affectation of human thought is called cognitive thought, and he equates that to the rider of the elephant and talks a lot about the rider's relationship to the elephant. Now, you would think in this exalted view that the rider has sitting high atop the elephant, that the elephant would now have absolute mastery over what it was going to do. Well, it turns out that the rider, cognitive thought, spends a great deal of its time justifying what the elephant does. So what he's saying is the cognitive mind justifies the action of intuition. So effectively, the elephant ends up having a lawyer or a PR agent trying to justify what the elephant just did. And only occasionally does the elephant listen to what the rider says. So I thought about that in relationship to Keynesian John Maynard Keynes and Friedrich Hayek. Hayek being an advocate of spontaneous order. In other words, those things that you could not explain, those unwritten rules at the bottom of civilization that moves us forward. The left and the right. Now, the left would say that spontaneous order doesn't exist, that it's all cognitive thought. And that came at the Reformation, when our friends like Hume and Hegel, the Hegelian dialectic, they showed up. And everything had to do with just how you felt about it. There was no objective truth. There was no spontaneous order. Spontaneous order was viewed to be religion, those things that cause man to act a certain way. Well, it's not religion either. Because man discovered something very interesting. To survive, man had to get along with other men. And when that first happened, there were no rules. The laws weren't written before they were needed. Now, Hume, Hegel, Kant, they'd have you believe they were. That's constructivist rationalism. So I wrote a little story about the elephant and the rider. Imagine this scene. The elephant and the rider are moving along a dusty road in a small Indian village. The rider is splendidly attired, magnificent elephant. And all of a sudden, the elephant lurches to one side, much to the embarrassment of the rider. Well, he urges the elephant forward. People watching this. The elephant won't move. So he begins to whip the elephant. The elephant still relents. Finally, the elephant succumbs to the whipping and moves forward. 2 days later, the elephant is lame. His foot has been injured somehow. Something's wrong. So the rider invites an elephant expert in, a specialist, somebody that really knows a lot about elephants. And they come to the conclusion, after great expense and a lot of effort, that the elephant had some deep-seated problem in its psyche from the past. The elephant is psychoanalyzed, and they treat him with great care. He undergoes a lot of therapy and eventually heals up, stops his limping, but he never quite seems to be the same. So there was the rider from this exalted view trying to figure out what actually happened. Central authority, Keynesian. Now, through the technique of retrospective, we're able to view this whole thing from another level, one that was never seen by the rider. There's a small Indian merchant with his wares along the street sitting, and sees the elephant and the rider coming, splendidly attired, beautiful, magnificent beast, when all of a sudden the elephant lurches to one side toward the vendor. He falls back, scattering his wares everywhere, and discovers there, lying on his back, that the elephant has blocked him from a cobra that is crossing the street. The elephant is urged forward, seeing the cobra. Finally, the elephant stomps on the cobra after being bitten at the urging of the rider. So there is the individual person in action, understanding what happens in their own life at that moment in real time, sees the need, the necessity, the requirement, and the action of his own life. Unbeknownst to the rider, the exalted central authority, the cognitive ability, never sees the underlying spontaneous issues of life. Yet we attempt at every turn to allow a centralized control to take over the decisions of our lives. How many people are bitten by cobras, the equivalent of unnecessary regulation, controlled by people who never see their life? And they go off and hire an expert to figure out the problem at the expense of the street vendor. And they never get to the issues that happen at the base level of our life. It's called mundane knowledge. Yet they egoically believe that they can ride that elephant. And every day, we pay the price.